Okay, so we're back here. I took a break and tried to do other things for a while, so I'm not coding myself, or actually, what's the word for it? Getting burned out. It's a really big issue when you're a developer that if you try to work way too much, you'll burn yourself out on doing an action. This can happen for actually literally anything. You can burn yourself out on coding, you can burn yourself out on development, design, watching movies, playing games. This is the reason why I don't play things like Battlefield and Call of Duty. I played them so much when I was younger that trying to play any type of game like that again is difficult for me. Um, but we are back to coding. This will probably be the last video for today unless I feel extra energetic to make another one. For this, we're going to focus on the effect system. So we got the sound system done. We have textures, we have models, we can do 3D rendering, we can do all kinds of other stuff with the JS system. We have no system in place to render effects. So we want to be able to do all of our particles, all of our really fancy um, systems, anything that looks really, really cool and flashy with a single method call. So that way we don't have to send like 15 packets to the client every time we want to render a particle. So just to show this real quick. Actually, by the way, before I forget, I did fix the audio. The issue was as simple as it possibly can be. The sounds.json file was in the wrong folder. I was throwing it in the asset folder for I don't know what reason, a little bit of lack of food and everything else. It kind of made my brain go a little loopy. So the sound.json has to be in your domain package. In this case, it needed to be in this folder. We had it in this folder, it needed to be in this folder. So that's fixed. We still only have the one sound, but if you can hear it, it is still working. And I believe I forgot to change my playback device. No, I forgot. Minecraft has this really weird bug. So clearly you guys probably could have heard that come through my microphone or actually you guys would have heard it come through the microphone and the normal sound system because after all, the recording devices are probably still working. At least I think that's how it's working. If not, it came through the microphone. We'll restart this and I'll show you the audio here afterwards. But Minecraft has this really bad habit that it likes to stick on a sound system, even if you transition your sound system. So like if I go down here like I had opened up, this is how I switch between my different headphones. Unfortunately, my headphone jack on my front of my computer is broken now. Um, Tripped over the headset and whatever, it broke. But I got speakers, I've got the Logic headset, I've got, of course, all my monitors that I plug into the system. Right now there's only one monitor in the HDMI port. I do have 3 other slots I could be attaching things to, and I actually am tempted to put another monitor on my computer, especially since I figured out how to transition screens with hotkeys. So there is a high possibility that what I'm going to start doing is having multiple screens in use while developing and using a hotkey, I'll transition between them. I'll toy with that later though. The main thing is we're going to work on the effects system, and if we have time, I'll try to do entity rendering because that's the last thing we haven't done with JSON is to render entities. We can render tiles, we can render normal blocks and normal items. We can't do item layers yet. That is going to be coming. Actually, I think we can do item layers. Yeah, that's actually supported. It's just I haven't tested it yet. There is no block layer system because that isn't a thing, but what we need to do is do advanced block rendering, which is ISBRs in 1.7 and then 1.8 and up, I don't know what it is. So I think actually 1.8 and 1 up it uses its own little class, like iDynamic something. Basically it's the same render system. But for effects, and what I was going to do is I was going to show what we're doing currently for our effects system. So we got the armory mod. In here, we've got the gun somewhere. So we're going to go data, I believe it's ranged, gun instance, and we generate a particle effect right before we fire the projectile. So here's our particle. Of course, we play audio here while we're at it too. Technically, this audio needs to go up to here because it doesn't matter. Both of these check for instances null. But what we want to do is we want to send a packet to the client that says, okay, I have just fired the weapon. And when I do this, I want to then go, okay, we want to render some kind of particle effect. That particle effect system is going to need some backend. Luckily, I already have packet handling for any kind of particle effect we want to do. So all we have to do is register what effect we want to play. So that's what we're going to do in here. And of course, let me show off that there are already particle systems implemented. So Shockwave, which is the EMP. So if you ever use the EMP generator in ICBM Classic, it uses the Shockwave renderer. I have got complaints recently that I added this fancy render to the EMP and it wasn't there previously. It was there previously, it just did not work in 1.6. It bugged out, nobody fixed it. 1.5 apparently it did work, and then somewhere in the end of 1.5 somebody broke it, and then nobody noticed because nobody really cared. All they cared is that when the EMP went off, it did its effect. They didn't care what visuals it did. I fixed the visuals. Unfortunately, the visuals look like shit, but that's not our problem. What we're going to do is we're going to copy this class and we're going to make a new visual effect for our gun. And then we're going to register that effect, and then we're going to use that effect. So first we're going to just use the effect real quick. Trying to decide if I want to make this a recyclable effect. The answer is no. So we're going to come over here and we're just going to make a new effect. So we want to make a new package for this, and we want to call it effects. So that way we can try to keep things separated from each other. So we're going to put this in here, and this will be, and unfortunately it's called VE, and somebody's going to get that confused thinking that's Volt's engine. That's actually visual effect is what that means. So this will be a visual effect, and we're just going to call it Gunsmoke. I'm not exactly inventive. Trying to think of what data I need here to hear this. We need the packet because we're going to need to spawn the system. We're going to need to figure out how to do this precisely. And this is the stupid part about this, because the only thing we can reliably know that we're going to have provided are these variables, and then I have no MBT loading system for JSON yet. I might implement that if we absolutely need to, but I want to hold off on that because that's going to be a massive system that will have to be JUnit tested. It will probably take me an entire day just to ensure that it works from start to finish, because if you ever actually have opened one of these up and looked at the MBT system, there are a lot of different data types we can store. There are a lot of different ways to retrieve these. And there's like huge things, like there's arrays we have to handle, there's byte arrays that we have to handle, subtags, so there's a huge subtag list system, and there's a limit to how big an MBT tag can be on items and stuff. So I have to implement support to prevent people from loading MBT tags too large, and I have to prevent support for nesting too far. So there is a limit to how far you're supposed to nest with tags. I think it's somewhere like 15 or something. God damn it, this guy keeps sending me emails. Actually, let me rephrase this. It's 4 different people sending me the same job offer. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's like, hey, you can come into this Edison, whatever in New Jersey, and you can go work for this company. And the whole entire email from all 4 of these people are about the same. They're slightly modified, and the wording is just so weird. Like, they capitalize weird characters and letters in there, and it's meant to grab your attention. It grabbed my attention because I read all 4 of them because I thought, like, oh, it's weird. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff we'll have to handle in this, and I need to do this anyways because I need to give myself an object that utilizes MBT tags without using MBT tag directly. This will be for later down the road because the plan, of course, is to get to 1.8 by the end of the month. I'm not even sure I'm going to pull that off, but the plan is to do it, and this whole JSON system is part of the process. Part of that is migrating away from MBT tags, migrating away from calling the world directly, migrating away from like doing a lot of stuff. And it's going to be one baby step at a time in order to do this. And it's something I should have started doing a long time ago. Instead, I kept trying to use complicated solutions for everything. And even still, I'm kind of making complicated solutions. Less talking, though. More work. I need to spawn flames and smoke. These will need a starting position, so I need the bullet point. That's easy to pass in. I need the velocity. The velocity is created from the aim and then randomized. So this is actually pretty easy to handle. So we're going to copy all this. Oh, come on. Okay, apparently if you hold control, it's going to select a line. I didn't know that. Okay, so we want to get rid of this because we don't need that. We do need this. We're going to implement this. We don't need the packet handling. So how does this actually do packets client side? Actually, I clicked the wrong method. I want to go here, packet, provider.display effect. If else, player.world.spawnParticle. That'll work. I can do that. So we want to do player.spawnParticle. You know the cool thing is, this will cut down on a lot of work actually. So this will be Minecraft.get Minecraft.thePlayer world object spawn particle, and it's name XYZ VX VOI. Okay. So we got X. Okay, so it's actually name, which will be the first one, which will be flame, and then it's X Y Z, and then we want to create a new out of this. So actually, we're going to restore that, and we're going to create a new object up here. So final pause aim equals new pause mx my and then mz, and that should actually handle most of everything. So now we just need to do is pass in velocity here. And we're gonna do the addition here. See how this goes: bullet position plus aim. We're gonna pass it in directly here, so we don't need this, and we don't need that. So this is literally, we just cut our code down to that pretty much. Pretty nice, isn't it? Much more simplified code. We put smoke here. So because we can access the spawn client stuff client side directly, we can actually utilize this much more efficiently. Yeah, it looks good. What we would do with other data, by the way, is we would actually control the number of flames, the amount of smoke, the randomization, or actually no, this is not randomization, this is multiplier, and this is randomization. So we're going to actually make those variables up here because we'll change them later. So float reduction is what we'll call this, and this will be 0.2f, and I forgot the semicolon, and then we're going to go float, and then we're going to call this random, and this will be 0.05f. And of course we'll make these accessible via the MBT tag, but we'll do that later. And how this will work is when I ever actually get around to implementing the MBT is when you go to register the fact that you want an effect, you'll register it with additional MBT tag information, and that additional MBT tag information will modify how the effect works outside of what this will be. This will be the position, and this will be the aim, is what this will pretty much be. So this is MX, which is movement X, movement Y, and every so. That basically comes down to aim, is what that comes down to. So you're basically giving position and a vector to do it. Actually, all these together makes a vector, because then you got your point in space, and then your movement. Then with other data, you would define whatever property you want to do with effect. And it could be literally anything. You could be changing the color like we do with Shockwave, because Shockwave is actually a reusable system, and it's highly likely we're going to start recycling this for a lot of explosives. The nuclear explosion, for example, is going to heavily use this, because the nuclear explosion is going to have at least 40 different layers of animation. That's the reason I've been holding off adding it. I literally want to make a real one, not a fake one like everybody does. Everybody makes a fake nuclear explosion when they make any kind of game or any type of mod or anything. They just do a big explosion, they rip up the land, they spawn radiation, and they do a mushroom cloud. That's actually not what a nuke looks like. A nuke has this inferno fireball absolutely mess. It has an implosion cloud, actually explosion, then an implosion. It has multiple different layers and from everything happening to it, because it's a huge explosion. And the reality of it is, when we go to make a lot of our explosions, we're actually going to start mimicking a lot of this behavior too, because real explosions aren't just this puff of dust and debris. There's a lot of dynamics to them. There's fire, there's flames, there's smoke, there's a pressure wave of air that actually does most of the damage of the explosion. Most people don't know that. It's the air moving outward that actually does a massive amount of damage. The detonation in the middle just creates debris that then is pushed around. With a nuclear explosion, by the way, it atomizes stuff in the middle. So this is where the thing people say, like, oh, this superhero could survive a nuke hitting him. The reality of it is nothing can survive a nuke hitting it, because it rips apart the impact at the atomic level. It's so devastating. And the bigger the bomb gets, the worse that actually gets. And of course, then you hit antimatter, nothing will survive, because you've destroyed it at the particle level. You've literally just ripped the atoms themselves apart, and you turn it all into pure energy. So we're going to ignore this. We're not modifying colors, so we're not going to do anything with that. We can recycle our spawn particle system. So now we just need to, since we've created the smoke, well, we need to register this. So this will be gun smoke is what we called it. This will be registered. I gotta go figure out how shockwave is registered. And I closed the core, didn't I? So let's see, client effects. So we get effect registry. All we got to do is call add provider, and this already has handling for overrides and stuff. You know, I never did check to see what I messed up on the client data handler that was causing it to print out null for everything. And yeah, right here it is. I put doesn't contain in front of everything. Yeah, my brain was running a little bit of low on about everything. Mainly rest because I wasn't taking long breaks, and when I did take breaks, I actually still did work, which if you take a break, it has to be a solid 15 minute of uninterrupted, you do nothing break. That means don't do anything intelligent, don't do anything movement-wise, don't do anything that you exert yourself anything when you take a break, because then that way you actually recharge. Your brain gets a second to stop and process things, and you don't want to think about anything. This is actually how meditation works, by the way. For those who don't know how meditation works, when you meditate, you think about nothing. That way your brain can clear itself out and reset. And people who do that, that's the reason they're not frustrated, because people who are frustrated and angry and hostile are people who are constantly thinking about the things that make them frustrated, angry, and hostile, and it just reinforces it because it's a snowball effect. Anyways, we need to register our effect, which we just need to call add provider, and then we have a get. We have an instance here, so we just need a callback. That's all we literally need. We need some kind of, in the client data handler, so I'm going to open this back up. We just need a callback system. So we're going to go with string, and we're going to go, I guess we're going to make an effect data object. Literally, we're just making data objects that are going to store little bits of information. I think I'm doing this right too, because I can't know if it's affect or effect. And I think it's effect because it's visual effects and not affect. Affect means you've modified. I don't remember the difference between them. For those of you that want to know the difference, Google it, because I'm confused now. It doesn't take much to confuse me. So we're going to make a new package because we need to make a JSON loader for this. And I'm trying to do this wrong. New package. And we're just going to call this effect. And we're going to make a data object for this. And we're actually just going to go copy our audio object. Actually, we're going to copy both these. And we'll put them here, and then we'll rename them both. So this will be effect. We don't need this. We do need a public final string effect key. We don't need to play. And yeah, we're just doing like the basics here pretty much. We're gonna go effect data. Yeah, this is all the boring back stuff. It's like usually people are like, oh, why are you making new content? It's like because I'm working on the boring backend stuff that then will allow me to make the content that everybody actually loves. It's surprising I actually don't get that problem nowadays. It used to be a huge issue when I worked back on Universal Electricity. It's like, why are we not getting new content? Why aren't bugs being fixed? It's because we're fixing the backend so that the bugs go away. It's one of those hard things to kind of convey to people that there's more to working on things than just basically shitting out content. And this is actually audio data, that's what this will actually be. And okay, do that. And of course we're going to need to get a getter method, so we're just going to copy this and we're just going to modify the data. Ironically, code is pretty much the process of shitting out repeats of what you've already done. There's a lot of ingenuity to it, though, so don't let people get you wrong on that. There is a lot of mental processing and figuring out the most efficient path of things. It's the reason why computer scientists exist, is we figure out the best way to do a task using a computer. And there's a science to it. It's the reason why it's called computer science, of course. And for those that don't know, I do study computer science. That's what my major in college is. I've got actually a year left to get that degree, by the way. Um, the irony is my other degree is in applied physics. That phone call from Wisconsin. I don't know anybody from there. So we want to do string effect key, and this will be this dot effect key equals effect key. And we're going to just to start with things, MBT tag compound, and we're going to store this, even though we're not going to use it. So it'll be this dot, so it'll be public final string MBT, and be this dot MBT equals MBT. Oh, I don't know why I typed in string there. Where was I? I lost my train of thought. Something about something about something. Okay, so on this one we need to basically rename it to effect JSON processor. We're not going to make MBT mandatory, so all we need is to get the effect ID and then the key. So we don't need a domain. We are going to recycle the name key real quick. So we're going to recycle that to effect key, and we're going to pass in effect key. Of course, this is not named yet. Typing with one hand, and I can't prove that because I don't got a camera. I'm actually thinking about getting a camera mounted above my desk. And what do we got here for this message?
Hi, this is Alexander Shotkovsky. I'm a recruiter with Experience. I'm just reaching out. Came across a copy of your resume online and was wondering if you're on the job market.
Okay. I read the rest of the transcript on that. I'm happy that phones come with transcripts now, because I read down through that and it's like, oh, yeah, they don't give you a single bit of detail about what they're doing except that they're a recruiter. Not to say it's a bad thing. I have actually gone through many job offers, but I've become cynical at this point about them. As much as I want a job, and actually, let me phrase this, I've actually kind of phased off the idea of wanting a job, because of course I want to make my own games and stuff. And I want to continue doing this stuff for you guys, and it's so far working out pretty well. It's doing a lot better than it was last year. I'm actually have some money that I could use. I may be able to pay my next semester off with money I've just made off of doing the work I do. And that makes me incredibly happy, because it makes me feel like I'm really doing something. But back to this. Okay, we got our get method, we got everything here. We have our JSON effect processor, which I just need to rename to effect. Our key is going to be just like everything else. We're going to use the unique ID of the weapon and then append effect and then everything else. Actually, we don't need to append effect because it's going to just assume it's an effect. So it'll be the weapon and then it'll be like fire, or it'll be the weapon and then reload or something. So there'll be all these cool effects, because we want to play an effect for every single thing we're playing in audio. And to be honest, what I might do is make a new packet here in a second that is just specifically designed to trigger both the audio and the visuals at the same time. That'll save me a packet pretty much. Instead of sending 2 packets containing data, it'll be 1 packet. And I think that'll work, because the only thing I'll have to do is, you know what, I have an idea. This occurred to me. This is really useful too. So when we call an audio call to actually play using the system, we pass in the pitch and volume. The pitch and volume technically could be provided by this audio data, because of the fact that you're already pulling data in, but I'm going to handle that later because I'm going to have to make special modifications to how everything works. Because you need to know the difference between if you want to use the pitch and volume handled by default, the modification by config, and if the remote server wants to modify it as well. So if the remote server decides it wants to play something at 4 times the volume because we're setting off an explosive, then we want to make sure we modify our audio based on that. But the focus is the effects. Like we did last time, we're going to have to register this new effect class. So we're going to have to put this down here. And of course, this is just going to load with everything else because there's no specific order by which we really care how stuff's loaded. Let me check to make sure there's... Yeah, we get order doesn't matter because how the effect data works is we're using keys, which means we're not dependent on any other object loading in any other specific order. This generally means this stuff loads last, is at least I think it's how the sorting system's designed. If the key is null, it goes to the backend. That guarantees if somebody messed up their processor, then everything loads before it. So even if they don't do something correctly, it works. So that means our effect will load. We have MBT preset in here. Now all we have to do is create a callback to call our effect system. So we want to get effect data and we need to play it. Yeah, okay. So public void, we're actually going to call this trigger. And it seems to be world double x double y double z. And I'm going to copy all this and put this in. This is actually how the other class ended up this way, is that I literally did this and I put an M in front of everything. Because typing everything in is tiresome. Especially for my fingers, which are not exactly very well off. We're going to treat this like this is the client-side behavior only. So this is just going to call the provider directly. So we're going to go visual effect provider equals visual effect registry. There should have been an oh yes, it's this, and then get, and then we want to get the key. And we're going to go if provider doesn't equal null. Then we're going to do provider.display effect, and we're going to do world.x.y.z.mx, and this needs to be my actually. my.mz, and then we're going to pass MBT in. So the MBT will exist. It won't be null. Actually, we're going to do a null check. Just to prevent issues. So this will work. We now need to create 2 packets. We need to create our dual audio trigger, so we're going to do that. And then we're going to do our singular effect packet. The thing is, I think I can recycle our current packet for that's designed to trigger effects already. And I could just recycle it, so I may not have to make a new packet. So we're going to go to core, we're going to go to network, we want packet, and packet small particle. So this is how we do things. So all I need to do is spawn a particle for the effect and prefix it with some weird thing like I've done here. So this is a VEP, which triggers the particle effects directly. This is actually literally how it works. We then want to do the JSON system. So we provide the same exact data here. We do provide other data directly from the server version. This is actually kind of important because this means we can control the logic for the JSON server side and then display it to the client. We are going to handle 2 different ways here. So you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to do MBT tag compound, MBT. And what we're going to do this way is we're going to actually create two methods real quick. I'm going to do this just for reusability, but the fact is I probably won't actually use this method. So x, y, z, mx, my, mz, and then new MBT tag comp. Or no, actually, no, we don't want new MBT. We want MBT. So this will use our default MBT. We then want to figure out what MBT tag we're using. So MBT tag compound used MBT. So we want to go if MBT doesn't equal null and MBT dot invert of has no tags, then our used MBT equals MBT. Then we want to go else if this dot MBT doesn't equal null and MBT has no tags, because we want to make sure we have tags. If you're passing in an empty MBT, then you're wasting time. Actually, in the alternative, we just want to make sure this is a null, and we're going to go used MBT equals MBT. And then the last case scenario is used MBT equals new MBT tag compound, and then we pass in used MBT right here. This provides us a good solution because we then will try to use the default MBT if possible. If this isn't good, we'll try to use our backup MBT. And if our backup MBT is no good, we'll make a new MBT object and we'll pass it in and it'll be good to go. Because this allows you to override if you want to. If there's no server-side override, or rather, if we just want to pass in this exact object, then it functions. Right now, this is all going to be controlled client-side because I'm not going to work on the server-to-client synchronization system right now, and to be honest, once I get it implemented, then we don't need to control stuff like this server-side anyways, because then the client will have an exact copy of what the server already has. Within reason, I don't know, I might adjust that, because I've got clients that are finicky about the client having data, so it may be a temp folder, which temp folder is a good idea. That prevents data modification from leaking over to another server. So say you downloaded a copy from a server, and you didn't want to use it on another server. This is actually the reason why a lot of my mods resync configs all the time. It's the reason why you have mods that actually do sync configs across the network, is to ensure that server configurations do not mess up the client. So they'll synchronize, then they'll reset. Yeah, we got that. So we get this. Okay, this looks good. Did we register our Gunsmoke? I think the answer is probably no. So, actually I think we did. Or didn't. So we want VE, so it's a visual effect provider, so we want a visual effect provider registry dot add effect, and it will do new VE provider shock or smoke weight gun, whatever. This will work. I'll come up with some kind of JSON dynamic system to construct effects out of pre-existing effects. You'll be able to both use the existing effect system, so you'll be able to recycle Gunsmoke, and you'll be able to utilize the Minecraft particle system. And that'll come later because I have to then implement a math handler to the JSON system to convert mathematical equations you put into JSON into actual usable mathematical equations in Java. It'll be easy. I already have one in C. I just have to convert it. Actually, I think I have one in Java already as well, because I think I made one for my discrete math helper that actually can do discrete mathematics and calculus. Was not required for the class, but when you have to do a lot of math and you need to double check your answers, it helps to have a piece of software. Probably the only reason I passed that class, actually. So we need to spawn packets, and I believe I said I can recycle my packet system. So yeah, this is all client. Yeah, this is all client side, so I'm gonna have to do this anyways. So I was like, you know what? I could just trigger the effect system directly from that, and I'm like, oh no, it's client side. So we're gonna go if name starts with JSON. I'm not inventive. We want to go JSON. We're going to go effect data equals client data handler instance get effect We then want to recycle this. This will have to be a 5. So what we're doing is we're getting rid of this part out of the front of the string. And we'll do key. And we'll assume I've lowercased it properly because I don't care. If data doesn't go null. If not, we want to put a logger here. And we only want to print this on dev. Failed to find effect data. Data for name. And this actually be for key. Because it'll be slightly different. Not by a huge amount, but slightly. And I'm actually going to fix this down here too. You know what? This is not my preferred way to do this. I don't know why this has a... Someone tells me once upon a time that I already had that around there. But then we want to go data dot trigger, and we do not have a world object. We do have a dimension ID. We do not seem to actually even care about the dimension ID. Why do we not do this? This should globally encompass the entire packet system. Because we don't want to play effects that we're not in the dimension of. Cool. This means technically this doesn't need the world, but whatever. And we're going to do this as well because that's kind of just how we're doing it. Yeah, we're just going to copy this whole entire behavior. And I didn't want to do it that way. Cool. That should work. So now we just need to specify how we're going to call everything. Trying to think of how if I want to do the other packet right now. Because I could do both packets, then that means I only have one packet, and we just literally call it effect trigger, and then we just go. God bloody damn it! What is it? Friday? I don't get it why on well, actually, it doesn't make any sense because it seems to be random when I get job offers. Some days I'll get spammed, then it could go entire months without I getting a single offer, and I don't even comprehend it. Pretty sure my I pulled my resume off most of the sites anyways. So we want to make a similar method here. And where is play audio? Did my eyeball right past it? So we want to copy this basically line for line. We want to play effect and so string key, and then this will be pause. The reason we're using pauses instead of doubles and stuff here is because when we go to actually fire most of our effect data, it's position based. We'll make an override actually because when we go to sync the packet anyways, it has to be in doubles, so I'll fix it. Double X, double Y, double Z, double. Okay, and we want to do this. We want to leave the key there. So we want to go X, Y, Z, MX, MY, MZ, and then we want to create a... It's 5 o'clock is why I'm actually getting all these calls. Except for the California one, that one doesn't make sense because it's like what, 2 o'clock over there for them right now. And this does not need to be abstract method. Except I just put this in the abstract proxy by mistake. create method. Apparently doesn't comprehend that this does exist. Uh, what? I don't think I put the. Okay, we're in the engine. Oh, it's right here. My brain just clicked right past it because whoever's trying to call us called 3 times now. It's from California. I don't really care. It could be literally anybody. Okay, so we want to make a packet here. We're going to save ourselves like a couple seconds at work by going in here and yeah, we'll copy the whole thing. We'll trim what we don't want. So we don't need the MBT junk. This will be MX, MY, MC. And then of course we don't care about MBT because we're not syncing MBT, so that'll be null on write, which is already handled via this. We do want to make sure that we prefix our name with JSON. So in this case, JSON, and then this needs to be named key, and then we'll put key in there. And we need to put our MBT junk here. So MBT tag compound, MBT. And then what we want to do is packet.mbt. Okay. And then 100 is our limit for render distance for particles, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll work. We can increase it later if we find out that's not the case, which is ironically the same as this. Is that even ironic? I don't know. What I do know is I can junk this. No, I can't junk that. I was about to think I could junk this, and what I could do is replace this entire crap with a different spawn particle call. By the way, technically the shockwave system is both client and server, because there's server-side handling and there's client-side handling, but it's not important. So we got this handled. We need to go to the client and then handle the client side of it. So worm our way to the client proxy and go figure out where we dumped this at. Here we dumped it over here. Put it here. Put a try catch around this, so we do the same thing we do up here. This is to ensure if we spawn bad data on the client that we don't break the thing. Unexpected error while playing effect, and then we do key. That'll work. World will never be null. World will never be remote. So we do this. And we already created our effect packet, or did we? I got a new email. Let's see what this is. My professor's like, for meeting 15. God damn it. Whatever, I'm gonna answer it. So I think I just about walked into a scam there. So that's a new one. Let's see what this. So here's the number. Let's see what this comes up. And we'll separate this out. See if I messed up anything here. Okay, so this is a weird number. That's literally what is on my phone right now. 878-3167. That's what. That's apparently San Francisco, which does confirm the 4 California calls I have preceding that one. Then I get that number. So let's see what we got here. So that's not getting me what I want. It's got to be a scam because they claim to be basically financial aid department. Claim to want to give me free money, not having to pay anything. And then it just started getting a little weird after that. Probably should have left my mic on so you guys could have heard that, but we're gonna get back to development because fuck scammers at this point, and I don't care. If it was an actual Department of Education, I would have got an email rather than a phone call. I know that actually almost for sure at this point. Okay, so we got this. This is going to then call the proxy, which is going to run things. So if we actually ran this on the client, this would actually call the client code directly. If we run it on the server, it'll do the server stuff. We need to get our effect on here. Oh, that's right, we're recycling the effect system. That's the reason why I couldn't think of how to do this. So I need to pull this up, and technically this would handle itself. I wouldn't need to do anything because this is already handled. Yeah, that means I don't need anything. So we go to client proxy and we leave this empty. Handled by packet. The only thing I'm worried about, so if we go to the packet, so where's my packet? I've had issues with this in the past where this system here will, for some reason on the client, decide it wants to do something completely different than what it's supposed to do. And that something different happens to be run on the server when it's not supposed to. Because handle client side should never be called, which means I shouldn't be processing anything. But we'll test that here later to make sure that it's functioning properly. Looks good, looks good. We just have to call play effect, and we need to migrate this over real quick. So play effect, key, and then pause X, pause.y, pause.z, aim.x, aim.y, aim.z. And then what we want to do is we're going to start really simple, and we're just going to do the play fired effect. So we're going to play effect, and this will be round.fired is how we'll actually code this up. And the thing is, the round.fired effect should be played by the munition itself, because each ammo might have a different effect. we'll leave a mark here. To do migrate to ammo class, and we'll handle that later. Because right now we just want to do this with a gun. And you know what? Actually, to do check with ammo if it has an effect to play, then use this as backup. Because what this does is we can define a default effect we want to play for all of our ammo, then only define unique effects for unique ammo. Like if we have incendiary ammo that wants to spit out fire when it shoots, then we can do that with our incendiary ammo. But then everything else doesn't have to define its own effects in order to play an effect. It'll just receive a default one from the weapon system. So for this, we want to entity's position, and then we want to add bullet start position. And on top of this, we want to add the aim. Actually, no, bullet start position will work just fine. I think bullet start position, well, we can test this in a second. But then we just pass a name for that, and that'll do its job because, once again, I said we wanted to pass in positions because we already had the position up here. That's just to save us a couple seconds of work. So we got to fire around, and then we just need to go into our JSON data. No, don't need that. We need this. And we actually just have to call play effect, pretty much, or we just have to create an effect. And we're going to copy this, put this down here. So this will be effect round.fired, and this will go at the end here, round.fired. We need a key. So we need an effect ID is what this actually, I think, is set to. To do wrong class. Okay, yep, effect ID. So effect ID, and I think we called it Gunsmoke. Not exactly the most imaginative thing, and to be honest, I need to prefix it. Okay, this is the wrong class system. I can close this. I want this guy, and I want to call this armory.effect smoke. The reason I'm doing this is I want to prefix with my domain in case somebody else wants to add an effect smoke for their mod, and another mod wants to add an effect smoke, and another mod wants to add effect smoke. We're not overlapping each other. When you prefix something with a domain, you guarantee that that belongs to that mod and only that mod. Unfortunately, there's no verification to ensure that our active... Actually, you know what? I can get the active mod container and enforce this behavior, but I don't want to do that now because that's going to take me a while to do, and it's, well, not very entertaining. Anyways, we're going to debug, and if we did everything correctly, we coded everything up correctly, we should now have a new system here, pretty much. So it should be an effect, should load. I'm going to have to make some JSON checks for it here later. I need to actually just spend a week, like literally after I get the 1.8 probably done, I'm going to spend a week doing... Yep, there's that previous number. Now I'm going to check to see if it's the same scammer. So, scammer is the easy way to say that. So I pick up the phone, guy with heavy Indian accent, barely speaks English. Not only that, he's not audible. In the background, you can hear more people with heavily Indian accents running multiple different scams. I heard the financial aid one in the back. I heard a lottery ticket one in the back. And I couldn't recognize the third one, but it wasn't the same wording. So there's multiple people running different scams in the background. I mean, if you're going to run a scam, make sure at least in the same room, everybody's running the same one. Oh, man. This is the shitty part about my phone number being online, easy to access. Okay. So hopefully this all works. Okay, so time, set, day. By the way, there's that empty weapon click sound. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Bit loud, but it gets the point across. So I do not have gun smoke on the default weapon, I don't think. So we want to grab this thing, and we're going to grab some of these things. Reload the gun. By the way, one of the next videos we might do, I might do the reload ticking on the screen. Okay, I didn't get a flash effect. Okay, we're out of ammo. So what did we get? No ammo. Consume tick. Consume tick. Okay, everything seems to be running. So we go to gun instance, play effect. So we call play effect. Play effect then calls this. Play effect then ensures everything exists. Play effect then calls the proxy client basically. We go here and we're just going to do a debug line here because, are we in debug? Yes, we're in debug. I gotta wait for it to reload. I need to make some dev guns that have infinite ammo. We'll do this later. Okay, play effect isn't even running. So this isn't running for whatever reason. We don't need this code. And we just basically completed all those tasks. Reload real quick. Okay, we want to see what this does. Okay, so that line does hit. We go in. Of course, it's got multiple ad calls. Okay, we're gonna put a line here because I don't want to do through all of those X and everything. Click. Wah. You know the reason why I'm doing this is we're on a freaking client and it's fucking hit a client proxy. So super dot play. And if we had an integrated server, so basically a LAN server, this would have failed absolutely horribly. Okay, click. And of course it automatically hit the next line because I held down the trigger for too long. What? I mean, if we're gonna hit this, we might as well put a debug line there, and just to confirm that our code is being run. Our code is not being run. And we're stuck on reload. No, it is being run. No, we're not. We somehow this debug line won't go away. Okay, you know what? We're gonna we send all around, so we're good there. Our packet isn't being read. XYZ 100 world packet data, more data, dimension ID, dimension ID. So we're going to click here. Okay, so we're quite literally not reading client side for some reason. So something got messed up here. So if we click this, play JSON effect, we're going to hit this. Oh, we know this line runs actually. Um, so let's check to see what data we're passing in. I should be somewhere near 290 is where I should be. Wow, we're 447 by 100 and that's not right. That's why we're probably not, I know what's wrong. Okay, so we're gonna remove this and I'm gonna hit play because I know exactly what happened. I did not pay attention to what data I'm passing in. So when we call do fire, bullet start position does not need to be added to anything. Bullet start position is the start position of the bullet, without a doubt. So we need to rechange this, and then it should work. Of course, it hits our debug line, which means it processed. We go down, JSON, finds key, goes to here, finds data. Data is null, so we messed up. Oh, we're doing handgun round fired. Derp. 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 Hit click cancel. I gotta go edit some data. So I need to go to the mod here. So content, Jujo, guns, handgun, RPG. You know what? This code actually needs to be in the. It actually doesn't matter. Like literally, the JSON system cares less of what's in here. Like if you were doing client versus server logic in any other language, you would want to make sure all your client stuff is client side, all your server stuff is server side. But because this is data, we don't care, so we can put whatever we want in here. In this case, we're gonna do the empty sound, and we're gonna do the gunsmoke. Hit this, and this all looks good. We probably need to actually register our keys to lowercase and do a few other things with this. We're actually going to check to see if it cares. So key, we're going to actually do this, do lowercase. And so ensure our key is lowercase at all times. And then when we go to add a key, we'll go to the effect data, and we'll do this, key.toLowercase. And of course this registers, and because we already lowercased our key, we don't have to worry about it. And we're going to do the same thing to this. We're going to do toLowercase, and I'm going to go to my effects system, and I'm going to ensure that it lowercases all keys as well. And it already actually lowercases all keys. Cool. That saves me some time. That actually probably would have broke our system because we were assuming uppercase. So we're going to run again, and we're going to see if it works. And of course, I would have to go through all my guns. I would have to add all these effects to them, and I would have to add all the audio. So more than likely, I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to initialize a default set of audio for everything. So that way, if you don't load audio for your gun, don't worry about it. It'll just initialize you with some empty audio. And that'll basically, there'll be a call called global, and then it'll be the name of the effect. And we'll have to figure out some way to do that. What that'll end up being most likely is I'll modify the packet to include the prefix on the key and then the key itself, and it'll just call both systems. It'll try to call the one with the prefix, and if the prefix doesn't work, it'll pass in global. And we'll do that for your audio, we'll do that for the effects. We'll do that probably for a little bit of everything, so there'll be a default for textures, default for models, default for animations. Animation defaults will probably be pretty low end though, so they won't be fancy animations, they'll be particle probably animations. There'll be things so you know the functionality is there and the functionality is working, but then if you forgot to put guns in it, it's on the fault of the content provider who's making the weapon, not the software. So the software will try to do as much as possible for you to make your code work as good as possible. Okay, that loaded pretty quickly. And we're past an hour again. Time management is not my friend. Those phone calls didn't help though. I'm probably going to add both those phone numbers to my auto reject list. Oh, we got an empty audio. That's cool. Okay, this works. a bit loud. So I'm probably going to put some default pitches and stuff. Okay, we're not playing effects now. This is not at fault of the weapon system, because I believe this is working properly. Yeah, I can, hey, it aims in third person. It just doesn't aim in first person. I'll fix that later. So it does fire, we know this. We can, well, we have no audio for firing. So when we go to trigger this, actually we need to put there here. As we found the data key, but we did not, what we probably just had happen is it's actually missing this. So failed to find visual effect provider. Visual effect provider for key, and then we want to pass in pretty much the effect key, and we'll see what happened. So I'll click, and then if we go back to this, we'll see debug, and failed to find visual effect for armory gunsmoke. So we're going to hit this real quick, and then I'm going to hit fire. It's going to hit the debug, and what we're going to do is go over here, go into this, and I'm going to see what effects are actually registered. So armory gun smoke is there. Except the name we passed in is the name of the weapon. So we want effect key. That'll fix it. I need to remove my debug line. Might want to put a delay on how quickly I play audio. Bang, 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 bang. Of course, this is an automatic weapon, so it'll keep firing. And then until you hit the empty sign. There'll be a few booleans I'll have to put in here, but other than that, we're done. That's the effect system. Pretty straightforward. Not too difficult to implement. Did take a bit longer, but that's pretty much been the whole thing. Anytime I record something, I've noticed it takes longer to implement than it would have been if I wasn't recording. But that's multitasking, I would say. But yeah, more videos later.